Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I'm your host, Marley Bird. I am so thrilled you are joining me here today, and it is Tuesday, February 13th. Tomorrow is the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I'm your host, Marley Bird. I am so thrilled you are joining me here today.
We're gonna find
and
that.
It is Tuesday, February. Let's mute that, huh? Yeah. Now you know how long the delay is. I didn't even know that was up. It's because I closed all the windows. Anyway, so it's Tuesday, February 13th, and that means tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Hopefully you're prepared for that, or not prepared for that. You better get prepared tonight. The Yarn Thing podcast, we are blessed to have wonderful guests in the yarn industry on the show every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. That's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, and 11 o'clock in the Midwest. If you would like to join us live for the podcast, please Google what time 10 o'clock Mountain Time is for you, or just hit subscribe right here on YouTube. And if you click that little bell next to the subscribe button, it will let you know whenever I go live or upload a video here on YouTube. So it makes it really easy. I love the fact that we've moved the podcast over here to YouTube. Having said that, I do record the audio of each podcast, and I do my best to get that edited and put up into Blog Talk Radio. I still have my Blog Talk Radio account, so that way those of you who are listening via iTunes can still get that just purely audio version. But you have to bear with me because that I only get to do that when I have a little bit of extra time on hand, which if you are at all involved on Facebook and see my schedule, you'll know there's not a whole lot of time for that. So your best bet is always to tune in here on YouTube. We are lucky to have wonderful sponsors. We have Stitches.events, home of Stitches West, where I will be not only teaching, but vending. You will be able to get your very own Chic Sheep yarn by Marley Bird at Stitches West. It's exclusive, guys. It's the only time you're going to see it somewhere where you can actually touch and feel it and buy it. So you want to make sure you come check that out. I'll also have exclusive Erin Lane bags there with the Marley Bird logo and the Marley's Minions information or logo and stuff on there. So it's going to be a lot of fun there. And then those of you on YouTube who have watched the videos with my mom is going to be running the booth. So you can come by and say hi to Marley's mom over there at Stitches West. So that is Stitches.events. We have Buffalo Wool Company, Erin Lane Bags, Creative Bug, Craftsy.com, and last but certainly not least, Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting marleybird.com, clicking on the sponsor menu, and there's a direct link to each one right there, so you can go by and say hello and thank them for sponsoring your favorite podcast. So what's really cool and exciting, you guys, is after 11 years of doing this podcast, you'd think that I've talked to just about everybody in the industry, and you wouldn't be wrong. But what's really a true delight is when I get a new person on the show and I get to hear their story, hear their adventure into the yarn industry, because it's always fascinating. For those of you who might not know, that's actually one of the reasons I started the podcast, is I love to hear the stories behind the yarn, behind the books, behind the designers, behind the designs. It's really fascinating to me, and I hope that all of you find it fascinating as well, just to kind of get the story of the stuff you love and find where you are simpatico with these different individuals. So it's a treat when I get a new guest on the show, a Yarn Thing virgin, and I get to pick their brain a little bit and get to know them a little bit more. So let's make today's guest feel very welcome and at home. I am talking about Lee Sartori, I think is how it was. Sartori, I think is how I say her name, her last name. We'll check with a second. But she is assistant editor at Happily Hooked magazine, as well as a designer, a mother, and just an accomplished woman. So I'm excited to introduce her to all of you. So welcome, Lee, to the podcast.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me, Marley.
I am so happy you're here. Literally, it's so much fun to be able to meet new people like this, and I mean, it's just a good time. So I know before you said you were a little bit nervous. You're gonna be fine. You're totally cool. Trust me, I make a fool of myself more often than the guests usually do. So you're gonna be great. So I know you are calling in or checking in from wonderful Canada, where it's nice and cold up there. Are you from there?
Yes, I live in Southern Ontario. It's right across the river from Detroit. We can basically throw a stone into Detroit from where we are. It's very cold. We have icicles hanging off of our house, and today they're occasionally falling off in big chunks. And so it's one of those winters where, you know, you want to stay bundled up and crochet all day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds truly delightful, truly delightful. So let's let people know a little bit about you because they might be tuning in. They're like, okay, great. You know, her name is Lee. What else? So let's kind of treat this like it's a first date. So Lee, do you come here often? No.
Nice to meet you. So yeah, I'm Lee. I'm a crochet designer. I'm the assistant editor of Happily Hooked magazine. On top of that, I run all of Happily Hooked magazine's social media, so all of their platforms. I go live every week on Happily Hooked magazine's Facebook page. This year, I also got hired by Annie's Design Studio, so I will be on the season 9 of Annie's Knit and Crochet Now show. We film next month in Cleveland, which is really
That's
fun.
so great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that. I was on there. I took the place of Robin Chichula when she was on maternity leave one season. You're gonna love it. They're wonderful people.
Yeah, and on top of that, they just invited me to be one of their Annie's Creative Design Studio videographers, I guess, tutorial teachers. I'm really excited about all of the fun stuff that we're doing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so great. What else?
So
What else?
lots of different dabbling here and there. You know, I design all the time. So there's a new book coming out from Selena Baca next year, and I just submitted 3 patterns for that. So that'll be my first time submitting to a book for Lion Brand Yarn. Selena Baca is a great friend, and it's just been great. This has been a very good year. It's there's lots of opportunities that have come up and lots of different you know, companies to work for. And Happily Hooked magazine, it's great because you get to work with all these designers and meet new people, and that opened the door to a lot of different things.
I love that, and I love Selena Baca. Like I love her with all of my heart. She's so fantastic. So you have a very blessed year coming up. Like this is amazing. You know, kudos to you. Congratulations. But where did it start? When did you learn to crochet? When did it become something you were like, all right, I might kind of like this and dabble in this a little bit more?
So I think it starts kind of the same for everybody. I don't know if maybe that's not true, but for me it was I was a brand new mother. I had this little baby and I was home with her all the time, and I just wanted to go out somewhere and just try something. And so I found this local crochet class that was at night. So I'd wait for my husband to come home and keep the baby, and I went to this crochet class. And I ended up meeting the teacher. There was a young lady about the same age as me named Diane, and she taught me how to crochet. And we struck up this great friendship, and I started crocheting, just in my spare time from there. And I didn't start doing it professionally until I had my son 4 years later, and I would walk around with him and he'd have these cute crocheted hats on his head that I just made for my children, and then it started becoming one of those things where people would ask me for them, and because people are asking you for it, then you have to make a shop, and then from there you just kind of it just kind of snowballed. I did go to university for visual arts and communication studies. And so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my degree, and teaching was kind of not really something that I wanted to go into. So I saw this application online for Happily Hooked magazine, and it seemed like it was destined to be my position. I signed up for it. I sent the email. I think I was doing it at midnight in my pajamas, just kind of taking a chance. Like, yeah, I'll apply for this job. It sounds awesome. And so Selena Baca was the person that hired me. She got my application, and we just we hit it off right away, and we became great friends too. So I started working at Happily Hooked magazine at an entry level, and it just kind of happened that things got moved around, and I started doing more and more for the magazine in terms of social media and presence and all that great stuff. My wonderful editor, Danielle Pink, she ended up going back to teaching. So she was a stay-at-home mom. She was the editor of Happily Hooked magazine. Her kids got older, and she decided that she wanted to go back and become a teacher again. So she ended up saying goodbye to Happily Hooked magazine. We miss her so dearly. Danielle Fink is an amazing designer as well, and so that kind of made room for advancement opportunities. So Emily Truman became the editor of Happily Hooked magazine, and she asked me to be her assistant editor. So she taught me, along with Danielle, everything I know: tech editing, all the ins and outs of magazine design. It's a lot of work, and it took a long time to train for it. So yeah, that's how I became the assistant editor of Happily Hooked magazine. It was an uphill climb,
That's
and just surrounded by amazing people to help you, get to where you wanted to be.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So as you are, walking around with your son with these cute hats, and then people are asking you to make them. And so you transition from making these hats and selling them to writing patterns in the magazine and such. How was that transition for you? The reason I'm asking is because we have a lot of people who do make a lot of items like that, either for Etsy or for local craft fairs, and they have an interest of designing, or they're like, how does that work? So if if somebody were to ask you that, what would you say?
I would say to just be really true to your own style, and put your best work forward. It's a lot of work, and it's almost like anything else. When you are an entry designer, you might not have the reach of some of the bigger designers, or the know-how, but it's just one of those things where you have to kind of reach out to people and ask questions, and see what other people are doing, and try and make your work just as valuable, as everything that you see around you. And the reason that I say be true to yourself is because there's a lot of designs out there. There's a lot of patterns. There's a lot of makers, and if you aren't true to yourself, then it's just kind of going to get lost in the shuffle. You have to design things that mean something to you, that are original, that have relevance to patterns that are out today. um, and just keep taking those baby steps. So you start with a page, you start with an Etsy shop, you start building a customer base and different things like that. And those opportunities will present themselves if you put in the work and communicate with other people, and people will see the value in what you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a couple questions from the chat room. There are over 100 people listening today live, which is fantastic. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're able to join us. We do have the chat room open on YouTube. It goes away after the live air goes away, after the live goes off. And then when it's just archived in there, all the comments are brand new when people listen. I don't know why YouTube does that, but I'm just throwing that out there. People are like, well, I don't see this comment. Why is it on the video? Because once this goes off live, you don't see those comments anymore. But anyways, I digress. One question here that we have is they want to know, how long have you been crocheting?
So I've been crocheting for about 10 years. My daughter is 10 years old this past January. So ever since she was a little baby. And I wasn't very good at first. I have to be completely honest. The first thing that my friend taught me how to make was a scarf. And I didn't quite understand the stitch count idea and paying attention to every row. And so I ended up with a nice triangle in the end. But just like anything, I always I teach crochet classes every Wednesday night for the past actually 4 years now. And I've seen a lot of students come and learn how to crochet. And the thing that I like to tell people is it's a practice skill. So just like a musical instrument, nobody sits down at a piano for the first time and can play a Mozart song. So in crochet is very much the same thing, and knitting as well. You have to practice and hone your skills and put in the time in order to make it past making a triangle scarf.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Actually, one of the other questions they want to know, are you a knitter as well?
I do knit as well. Yes. I don't do it as much as I like, just because I'm obligated to do all of these crochet designs. Not obligated, but I have all these crochet designs on my plate that I have to finish. So I would like to knit more, and I'm actually really obsessed with knit socks.
Yes.
So I have all of this sock yarn, and I just got Knit Picks double pointed needles for socks, and I haven't used it yet.
Okay, well, here you go. You ready? I'm
Yeah.
doing a knit along at the end of March for knit socks. So you'll be able to, we're going to start off though with the worsted weight yarns. That way you can kind of get used to using double points and kind of the process, because you'll be able to totally learn from that to move on and make socks. Because I love socks. Like that's why I learned to knit, is because I wanted to knit socks. So that's what we're doing for the, did I say crochet along? I meant knit along.
I think you said knit along.
Okay, good. Like sometimes they get mixed all the time. But the knit along at the end of March will be for knitted socks, and we're going to use DPNs. And I know people, I've had a couple people, they're like, why can't we use 2 circulars or do magic loop? And my argument to that is, I feel like everybody should start off with double pointed needles. Aren't that scary? You know, yeah, you're going to mess up, just as you said, you know, not everybody is a Mozart at the start, but let's practice together, get to learn how to use these things together, and then we can transition, and maybe the next knit along we do toe up socks with 2 circulars, you know, like we can transition and learn together. So I'm here for you. If you want to learn how to make socks, I'll totally teach you.
I'm excited, Marley. I'll be there.
I know, right? It's going to be fun. Another question somebody wants to know is, what is it that you like to actually make and design? What are some of your favorite things? There's a random question here about filet crochet, and I don't really know where that fits in, but so I'll just throw that out there.
So it's kind of an interesting thing doing the work for Happily Hooked magazine, because the editor, Emily, she creates what is it? It's a call for submissions, a submission call. And so when she creates the submission calls, you know, months and months in advance, we chat about it and we pick a theme for that month. So the theme could be textures, the theme could be coin purses, the theme could be socks, garments, anything. And so it's been one of those wonderful things where, as a designer that contributes to Happily Hooked magazine on a regular basis, I kind of get that jumping off point where, you know, I know that I'm going to be in the sock issue, so I have to design a pair of socks. And, you know, sometimes I had never designed a pair of socks before. And, you know, that's kind of the thing that it's a throwback to when I was in art school, when your, you know, professor would say, okay, we're going to be doing this, this style of portrait, and you have to fit the requirements. And so it kind of, for me, that's like one of the best creative outlets for me is when I get a jumping off point in order to design. That being said, I've tried a whole bunch of different things in the past 3 years working for Happily Hooked magazine, designing things that, you know, I usually wouldn't. And, you know, something like, there's this on my desk, it's a coin purse made out of, with thread. And, you know, I haven't designed anything with thread before, but, you know, given the challenge, it was something that was really fun to create. And Knit Picks sent the yarn, and it was just something that kind of spoke to me. So
I love that. I love that.
It's really fun to do. But, you know, if I had to choose, if there was somebody that said, like, you know, you can design whatever you want and fill in this, you know, all of these pages with all of your designs. Lately, it's been garments, and in particular sweaters. I think it might be a reflection of the cold weather outside, but I'm really enjoying making, you know, wearables right now.
I love that. I have been obsessed with making hats and fingerless gloves lately. Like, lots of hats and lots of fingerless gloves. I don't know. I mean, I think it's because it's a combination of, I can get a hat done in like 4 hours, like a knit hat, 4 hours, 5 hours tops, like it's more. And I could just sit down and boom, I have it done with a big fat pom-pom on top. And I'm like, oh yeah, this thing rocks. You know, I'm like, I could so own this. And so I love it. Right. And my daughter, like, she'll come down from school and she says to me, Mom, what did you make today? And, you know, because she wants to steal it all and wear it. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's a huge compliment when you have an almost 16-year-old saying, I want to wear your stuff, you know?
Yeah. My daughter is 10, so not quite as like into the cool stage yet. But when she does want to, you know, keep something that I've made, it is like, it's like a small victory where you're like, yes.
Just wait.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it even more when my boys, they'll come down and they're like, you know, this one, I could wear this one, Mom. And I'm like, it's like hot pink, you know? And Kaden will say, only real men can wear pink, Mom. I'm like, all right, baby, you go, you do it, you own it, you do it. And he's like, yeah, All right.
It probably looked awesome on him too.
Oh, it totally does, because he's like this really great kind of reddish strawberry blonde hair and really great skin, and like I don't know, the pink just really really looks great on him. It looks awesome. Anyways, I digress. Let's see here. Some other people are leaving. I want to make sure I'm mentioning comments because I always often forget. It says Lee designed your own. You designed your own hats. I made a hat with curling horns. I have no idea how to write a pattern. I was wondering if there is something that taught that. So my guess is that this is Crochet Leo. She probably is writing, designing hat patterns, doesn't know how to write designs. So when you went from designing hat patterns to transitioning to designing the hat patterns and writing them out, did you struggle, or is there something that you use to help teach you how to do that? That would be my guess.
So when you're writing your own crochet patterns, there is a standard crochet stitch guide out there if you Google it. And the other thing that I would suggest is to take a publication that is something that has been worked up and established and has a place in the yarn world, say a magazine or a book publication, and just check what the format is for their style. Whether they use just different stitch terms and spacing and fonts and all of that, all of that tech editing aspect that goes into pattern writing. And just try to abide by the standard of, whatever publication that you feel best suits your design vision. I know that a lot of people will, take a look at what their favorite designers' PDFs look like, not to steal their style, because, obviously that's not what we're going for, just to incorporate the rules. And the rules in crochet, crochet has been around for decades. And same with knitting, and the terms are all the same. And so they're pretty much universal. In North America and in the UK, they have a few different terms. But just abide by the rules and make sure that your pattern is, something that you can present and have somebody understand, like a language. It's basically like a mathematical language.
It totally is. Yeah, it totally is. One thing that I always like to look at, so we just recently had, oh gosh, I can't think of her name all of a sudden. Her Instagram is Chicken Betty. And so I just looked at her Instagram this morning and that's all that's popping in my head. Anyways, we just had a guest on the podcast who wrote a book all about designing crochet and how to work through the math. I also know that Dora Ornstein has written a book on designing crochet. Let's see, there's an out of print one by Lily Chin. I know that if you pick up different books by Robin Chichula, you can really learn another way to kind of design and write out patterns. Like there's lots of books out there available to you too, if some of you are interested in actually becoming designers, which is one of the questions that somebody is asking. They say, this is Christina. She says, what qualifies or classifies or makes a person a crochet designer? So I know what my answer would be for that, but I'm going to ask you, Lee, what would you say classifies somebody as a crochet designer?
What if my answer is completely the opposite of yours, Marley?
That's totally fine. That's totally fine.
So it's an interesting question. And, say for example, we are taking a submission at Happily Hooked magazine. What qualifies you to be a designer that we would accept your submission for Happily Hooked magazine? So this is what we look for. Is your design original? Is it something that came from your own imagination, your own your own thought process? It doesn't really resemble anybody else's design. It's something that we haven't really seen before. So that would make your design something that we would consider, right? The other thing that we would consider is how the pattern is written. So if you're submitting something to Happily Hooked magazine, we offer a template that you can input your design into, and then when you submit it, it should fit our design format, and that would be another bump into the sequence. The other things that we look for are just basically, like, is the design something that would be liked by a community, basically. Is it something that is a little bit too niche and maybe only, you know, a small group of people would enjoy making it? Or is it something that, you know, a lot of people would enjoy making it and would be something that we can present to our subscribers as a fun project? And that's not to discount people that do niche designs, because there's something to be said about people that make something that you know, certain people really enjoy to do. But those are kind of the aspects that we keep in mind when we are you know, intaking anybody's submission for Happily Hooked magazine, and that's something to keep in mind when you are designing yourself, I think.
Perfect. I think that's a great answer. And it's Sarah Delaney. That's who I had on the podcast. I think that was a perfect answer and very well done. I'm looking, there's so many questions. Everybody, there's a lot of different questions out here for you. And I'm trying to decipher some of them to understand like what it is they're asking. So it looks like she has this question. Crochet Leo, she has a question for you. Do you write or correct as you go when you design? Do you design it on paper first? So I'm guessing she's saying, do you make the item and then write it down, or you write it down first and then make it?
So I hate to admit this, but I don't have the best process. And I know my editor, Emily, gets a little bit frustrated with me sometimes, just because first and foremost, I'm kind of, I'm a creative person. You know, I went to art school, and I'm used to just kind of like grabbing all of my materials and kind of throwing my idea out there and getting it done. And I love to work it up. And that's my favorite part. But actually writing down the pattern and stopping and thinking about, oh, I need to get this like down on paper, that kind of like, to me, it kind of puts a stop in the process, you know, the creative process for me. So, you know, if I were in art school and I was making a giant drawing with charcoal, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't stop and write down like, oh, I used this kind, or, you know, I used a little bit of white on the corners here. But in practicality, because I have been designing for several years now, and doing designs for major publications, you have to, and it's one of those things where I'm trying to get better. So I have notebooks and I write as I go. I try to make sure that if it's a very complicated line in my pattern, that I have it down pat before I move on, because sometimes it's hard to go back and figure it out. You know, you look back at it the next day and you're like, what did I even, you know, what was I thinking? Right. I actually told my coworker, Ron Strong, at Happily Hooked magazine, you had him on the podcast not too long ago.
Oh, he's a good friend of mine. I love Ron.
So, yeah, we work together and we chat every day. And we were talking about submitting patterns for Annie's, and I had written myself notes on the margin of one of my designs. And I was telling him, I showed him, I have no idea what I meant to tell myself. So I'm looking at these notes a few days later and I'm like, what does this mean? Like, what am I trying to tell myself? I ended up figuring it out, but you have to be really careful when you're designing to make sure that you're not doing like Dr. Scribbles, where you're not going to be able to figure it out later and it won't work for you in the future. So my design process does include notepads. It does include paper. Sometimes it gets a little bit crazy, but you know, I always get it onto the digital copy in the end, and it all works out. So
okay, so I'm gonna make you feel better. I'm gonna show you my notes. This was me in a frenzy of making hats, and these are 3 different hat patterns written up like on that one page. Can you see that? Like, that's it. So I have to go through there and decipher, okay, what is it that I was writing here? You can see like right there, like those are cables. There you go. Right? They're not just like hash marks.
Right? The things that I had written in the margins on my pattern, and I figured it out later, but the words were half start and then full start on a different line. How do you half start? Like, I couldn't figure it out for the longest time, and then I got it in the end and I realized what I was trying to tell myself. But like, you can't leave yourself cryptic notes like that. It doesn't work out.
Did it happen to be like a full start was like your full shell and a half start was like a half a shell? Like that's
it was a bobble, and you got it exactly.
See, I speak your language. That's exactly, I would write that down totally. I totally understand that. That's so funny. So the next question I have actually kind of leads into Happily Hooked. So let's talk about Happily Hooked a little bit more, because I've worked with several different magazines, different publications, but I've never worked with Happily Hooked. And I know that it's available both as a digital format and a physical format. Because somebody was asking that, so that's one question somebody had. But tell me about Happily Hooked. For somebody who's never checked into it before, what could they expect from your magazine?
So I have a few copies around my desk. My desk is really cluttered. But so this is Happily Hooked magazine. It is a digital publication. Firstly, it's a print publication. Secondly, I say secondly because we publish Happily Hooked magazine in print a little bit after the digital copies come out. So the print edition is 2 digital copies combined into one. And that's where we get our print edition, and it comes out pretty thick, and it's filled with patterns and articles and all of that great stuff that you expect from Crochet magazine. We work with amazing designers. We just started a new article that I write where I interview really great designers as well. So this magazine is my heart and soul. I love it so much. We work really, really hard on it, and it's filled with just the most amazing patterns. You can kind of see there's like a collage of all the different designs in there.
I love your photography. Yeah. Wonderful photography. Do you guys do that in-house?
Photography is by Emily. Emily Truman does the photography. She's a photographer as well as the editor of Happily Hooked magazine. So she's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when they purchase a digital copy, that's monthly?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So the digital copy is monthly. You can download it to your Ravelry library and save it. You can print it. We offer condensed PDF printables so that you can print and write on your crochet patterns if you need to. And if you go onto our website and view your magazine subscription from there, all of the magazine is live and clickable. So if we talk about somebody, we put a link in there that you can go and find them. If we talk about a yarn, you can click that yarn and go and find out about it. So the interactive magazine, the reason that we love digital so much is because, we're kind of, everything is online now. And while it's great to have that print edition come to your door and, you can smell the magazine paper, and it's so wonderful. The photography, like you said, is really beautiful. The digital magazine is interactive and really fun to actually use on our website. So we love to put all of those, live links in there and get people into it.
I think that's smart. I mean, it makes sense to me in today's digital age to be able to add links like that. I know that we've been working on adding links to like my PDF downloadable patterns and stuff, just because it just makes sense. And then to be clear, so the digital is monthly, but then would it be safe to say that the physical copy is bi-monthly because then it has 2 digital copies in it?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. That seems really smart, really great way to do it.
Yeah, it gives people kind of, it gives them, when you get a magazine, you get 2 issues into one. So it's kind of, it has some bulk to it. It has some content. If we were to publish it every single month and send it out, it's not going to have as many great things to enjoy in a physical copy. We consume digital publications really quickly, but for somebody like myself who enjoys the print magazine, I like to take my time with it. I like to read everything. I like to enjoy all of the different aspects of it. And so we like to put as much content as we can in there so that you can enjoy that experience a little bit longer.
I love that. I still buy magazines, even when I'm not in them. Like I still I have 2 right here, right? And I was like, I had to buy them to look through them, and I feel like I'm able to not only support the magazine but support the designers that are in there, because if the magazine thrives, I'm able to have that magazine purchase designs from all of us designers, which is fantastic, which is a great segue to my next question. Stefan and somebody down here has a question. I think it was Froggen Designs. They both want to know, how do you get into the industry? How do you submit designs to the magazine? And Stefan's question also is, how far in advance will things need to be made? Or I'm going to throw in there, after the submission, how quickly do they have to have something sent to you?
So Happily Hooked magazine, I can speak for our publication. every magazine is a little bit different, and you'll find that as you know submit designs to different publications. But for Happily Hooked Magazine, we put out a submission call. It's at happilyhookedmagazine.com/submissions, and you can Google Happily Hooked Magazine submission, and the link will pop up for you. But if you take a look there, Emily has created this wonderful submission call. It's really easy to follow. It's basically broken down by month and publication, and the submission call includes the theme of that issue, along with a collage of different items, including knit and just things that give inspiration for the designs that we're looking for that issue. And so if you're interested, if you're a designer and you're interested in submitting to Happily Hooked Magazine in particular, all you have to do is go to that submissions page and check out what your design will fit in, or if you can kind of come up with an idea based on those those themes and collages. And from there, you follow through. The submission page has a link. You'll submit your pattern in digital form to Emily Truman, the editor of Happily Hooked Magazine. And she is actually the one that, will accept or decline submissions based on her professional opinion of the designs. A lot of the time she'll ask the team for help as well, but being the editor of Happily Hooked Magazine is a pretty important job. So she does a lot of that kind of intake, and she does an amazing job at it. So Emily Truman is the one that kind of gives you the final say whether your design is accepted or not. And I just like to tell people to give yourself a chance. You might get declined, but a no is no worse off than anything. Like, if you don't try, then obviously you'll never know, right? That classic kind of thought process. So just if you're a designer and you think that that's something that you want to get into, Happily Hooked Magazine is a great publication to submit to. Everybody is awesome. The whole team is amazing. So definitely give it a go.
So I want to throw out there that we've put all these different links that Lee's mentioned they're in the show notes. And so if you go to the show notes, there's a link in the video description of this particular video. If you click there, you're going to find links and different things that we've spoke about during the show. So don't freak out. Don't worry. You can still get all the information you need. And it's just over at marleybird.com, guys. And so you'll find everything you need there. We do have another question. This one's from Caitlin. She wants to go back to the idea of the print magazine. Is the content in the print magazine the same as the digital, or is there more content in the print given that you wanted more beef into it?
So the content is the same. So
okay.
What I meant by having more into this print edition is that it's 2 digital publications combined into one. So it just makes the actual print magazine nice and satisfying. There's a lot to read and a lot of different patterns that you can enjoy.
Awesome. Very cool. I love that. This is really great. Looks like there's a lot of people very interested. A lot of love right now in the chat room for Happily Hooked Magazine. Some people who get the digital, some people who get both. Everybody thinks it's very well put together, which is really wonderful. Missy, I love you, Missy. Missy wants to know, is there a way to get access to back issues?
There is. Happily Hooked Magazine runs a back issue store. So if you're a subscriber to Happily Hooked Magazine and you just joined us and you noticed that Selena Baca had this great pattern on the cover of an issue a while back and you need that, you can just purchase the digital copy in our past issue store. We also have back issues of our print available in the past issue store that you can pick up and get mailed to you if you missed something that you really enjoyed as well.
Okay, so then there's another question regarding design submission. They want to know, which is an important question. When they submit a design, say it's chosen, do you guys retain the rights forever, or do the rights ever revert? Ugh, I can't speak all of a sudden. Do they revert back to the designer?
So that aspect of submission is different for every magazine again. In particular for Happily Hooked Magazine, your design is held for 3 months. So we obtain the rights to it for 3 months. And after 3 months is up, you are free to distribute your design in any way you like. You can put it for free on your blog. You can put it in your Ravelry shop for sale. So after 3 months is up, the design is back to your property.
Perfect. Perfect. My next question is actually going to be regarding the social media side of Happily Hooked, because that's one of those professions, I think, that's still kind of, it's getting defined, and it's often changing constantly, as social media does, as different apps come out, as different things, algorithms get changed and such. So when you were put into this role of, the social media expert there for Happily Hooked, what are some of the things that, you make sure that you provide to the people who are like subscribing to YouTube or your Instagram or whatever it is? Or, how do you try and build a community? What are some of your tricks and tips?
So I can talk at length about social media. I'm very passionate about it. And, I get going with some of my designer friends, Selena Baca, and, all of these great people that are really interested as much as I am. I research it constantly because the Facebook and Instagram algorithms, including Pinterest too, but to a lesser degree, they're always constantly changing. Instagram just did a huge algorithm update in the new year that's affected businesses across the board. Well, not just businesses, actually, just personal pages in general.
Yeah,
And the bigger you are, the bigger hit you happen to take for this new algorithm. So it's a game of constant research in order to stay up on the algorithm changes and the trends. But for Happily Hooked Magazine, because Happily Hooked Magazine is a business first and foremost, the best platform for businesses that I've found as a social media expert is Facebook. So Instagram, I would say Instagram is more for artists. So if you are a crochet designer and you take wonderful photography and you're constantly a present force in your brand, it's one of those things where Instagram is a platform for other artists. It's other artists celebrating other artists. So basically, you're going to find a whole bunch of crocheters that love the same thing that you do. You're going to find knitters that are just as passionate about knitting as you are. And you can get into a niche community with that and kind of thrive. So Instagram is one of those things where the more you put into it community-wise, the more you get out of it. So for Happily Hooked Magazine in particular, I started off my social media kind of strategy with Facebook first and foremost. And when I was added to the team at Happily Hooked Magazine, Happily Hooked Magazine's Facebook was pretty low on the followers ranking. So what I did was I just put in a lot of effort, a lot of community building, a lot of kind of as many viral posts as I could get out there. And we've built the Facebook page to over 150K. And so what that entails is posting original content, posting, things that people want to engage with, things that you're going to generate interest and likes and comments. People want to share. So as a Facebook page, you're only shown to a certain percentage of your followers. If somebody clicks the share button on your post, you're going to be shared to their wall, which opens up your post to a whole new side of the following percentage. And so you want that shareability on your posts more than anything else. And Instagram isn't like that. Instagram is not meant to be shared. It's just meant to be enjoyed right where it is. So shareability is the biggest thing that you can do to help your Facebook pages. And so basically, I've just been creating a lot of original content, a lot of things that I know crocheters would enjoy, video memes, jokes, things that ask questions and elicit answers. And then also in that we post all kinds of different things from our publication. So Beautiful Crochet. So it's kind of like a happy mix of beautiful crochet and engagement inducing posts. And that's really been a really great formula for growing this business page. Along with that, it's really important to have Facebook groups. So we have three main ones now. So we have a crochet along group, we have a members area, and we have a generic Whip Wednesday group, which is an offshoot of my Whip Wednesday lives that I do for Happily Hooked Magazine each Wednesday night. And so the engagement is there, and we're just trying to kind of enjoy our publication with our readers and subscribers and followers, and just kind of everybody that crochets and knits, you kind of want to be part of a community, and that's kind of what we offer. We like to be there and be present and crochet right along with you guys.
Love that. Ada is asking, is there ever going to be like a happily knitting magazine?
We've thought about it. I knit and Ron Strong knits, and we've thrown the idea out there a few times, but it never really stuck yet. So I think we're just concentrating on the crochet aspect right now.
All right, that works. That's totally all right. I love Ron. Ron is great. Ron has
Awesome.
a pattern for me with the new Chic Sheep. It's a great shawl, and it comes out next month. So I'm excited to finally get to share it because
I have some of your Chic Sheep too.
Have you used it?
I haven't yet. I'm trying to decide what I want to design with it, but I'll let you know as soon as I do.
Oh,
I'm
please,
really excited.
please let me know. And if you need more, let me know. Like I'll send you some more because it's pretty awesome stuff. Not gonna lie. Nice. I know. Like when you touch it, what's the first thing I ask everybody this? What's the first thing you think of when you touch it?
It's just so soft. I don't know what I think of, but I don't know.
I think it's soft and squishy. Like it's squishy.
It's just very squishy, and it has such a great ply to it. The texture of the actual yarn itself. It's really, really nice. I can't wait. I haven't decided what I want to make with it, just because I feel like it's so special that I really want to make whatever I design really good. But I'm going to. I'm really excited to design with it.
Well, you can use it for your first socks if you want. I'll get you some more, but that's what we're going to use for the sock knit along is
perfect.
Chic Sheep, right? Because even though it's not, I'm thinking like bedroom socks. Obviously, they don't have nylon in them, so they will wear out over time. But as I said, I just want some practice. I want people to practice. But yay! I'm glad you like it. You know what the best part is? So here's what's crazy. So all of the yarn I got, see, it didn't have. It was like the initial release, right? So I didn't get any of the actual labels until recently. And if you happen to take the label off, this gets me so geeked out. So you know how most labels have a pattern on the inside?
Yeah.
This one actually has a blurb about me. So there's right? And I was like, holy moly, there I am. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was one of those things. I cry anyways, but it made me because all I kept thinking was if my grandma had ever, if she had lived to see this happen, she would have just been so ecstatic. But anyways, I was so excited to get like a real label.
I haven't ripped it because I've been just treasuring it.
Well, now you know. I know. It's just anyways, it's just one of those little things. All right. Well, it's the time of the show that we give away prizes. I know a lot of people are waiting for that part. So while we're sitting here, I'm going to say all of you that are watching live right now. So literally on this day, and it's 10:52 a.m. here in Colorado, and you're in the chat room, go ahead and put down, I want to win. Just write that down in the comments. I want to win. You also need to give a thumbs up on this video. Smash that like button, please. Let people know you're enjoying this conversation because hopefully you are. You're still here. And so smash that like button, write out I want to win. And Caitlin or Brittany will randomly select a winner when I tell them to do that. So this is your chance to possibly win live on air 1-year digital subscription to Happily Hooked magazine. So that's what you're entering to win. I think it's so funny when they have no idea what they're entering to win, but they're just like, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. It makes me laugh. But you're entering to win a really great prize, guys. A 1-year subscription, 1 full year subscription for the digital edition of Happily Hooked magazine. If you're not listening live, don't worry. There's always a chance for you to win as well. To get full details on all the aspects that go into choosing the comment winner, you can visit the podcast page over at marleybird.com. But to give you the rundown gist of it, after the show today, the show notes will be placed up on marleybird.com. They're actually already up there, so you can go over there, find all the links I mentioned earlier that will be over there, maybe some images, a brief synopsis of things we might have talked about. Like everything you need to know is in the show notes. Those show notes are at marleybird.com. The link is in the video description of this video, so you can go and click on that. When you go to the show notes, Scroll all the way to the bottom. If you're on your mobile device, literally scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see where you can leave a comment. Leave your comment that includes a keyword. We'll randomly select a winner in about 2 to 4 weeks, and that winner will win a 6-month or 6 issues. So it's 1 full year, 6 issues of the print edition. No, hold on. 6-issue print edition bundle of Happily Hooked magazine. I'm going to read it exactly the way it says. So that's what you're winning. You're winning the print edition if your comment is chosen from the show notes. I want to just reiterate, you have to leave your comment on the actual show notes at marleybird.com, because that's where we go to randomly select a winner. And the keyword you need to use is
Happily hooked.
Happily hooked. Happily hooked is your keyword or key phrase, guys. Why don't you put in there, answer a question, however you need to incorporate happily hooked into your comment. Make sure you do that, and you could randomly be selected to win. For example, several weeks ago, we had Jess Mason on the podcast, who we love, who is running yarnpreneur.com, if you remember. And we had a wonderful conversation. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that show, you need to go and have a listen, because it was really great. And the key word for her was hustle, and that's what we do as designers and people in this industry. You're constantly hustling, trying to get work, and it's just the way it is. So the comment winner that was randomly selected was Regina S. And her comment was, "Fabulous podcast. Thank you. My son keeps trying to get me into the business side of crafting. I don't know that I'm quite ready for the hustle and bustle it takes to be successful, but I definitely can appreciate you crafters that are successful. Good luck and thanks for the support." So obviously she used the keyword hustle, left a great comment, and she was randomly selected to win a free 30-day trial of Yarnpreneur Academy. So we will make sure that we email Regina and give her the wonderful prize. But it's that easy, you guys. Leave your comment on the show notes, which are at marleybird.com, and make sure you include your keyword happily hooked. Okay, guys? So did I say all that all right, Lee?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything there. Sometimes I get tongue-tied, and so I just want to make sure I didn't miss a thing. Okay, so well, they are all now putting on their I want to win, and now they're all opening the link to the show notes. They're just covering their bases. That's what happens right now. I am going to ask Brittany to randomly select a winner, and we'll just kind of sit here. I should have some sort of like theme music going on when
like a Jeopardy theme.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And okay, she's writing something. Okay, it says Donna Henkel. Donna Henkel, you are the lucky winner. You are the one that has one of the many that left a comment over here on the chat over on YouTube. Donna Henkel. What I need you to do is email me, winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. It's winner@yarnthingpodcast.com with your what information do you need from her to get the digital subscription?
We need her full name and email address.
Full name and email address. So make sure you do that. Oh, and it looks like Regina is in the chat room too. The one who won from Jess Mason. She's in there. She's like, that's me. How cool is that? So Regina, congratulations for winning Jess Mason's thing. And then Donna Henkel, make sure you email me. I already forgot. What'd you say? Email and Ravelry?
No, full name and email.
Full name and email. Sorry, I got distracted. Squirrel. So there you go. And that is just email winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. So very cool, very simple. So great to get to know you, Leah. What's really awesome is now that people know you and they are falling in love with Happily Hooked, the fact that they're going to be able to enjoy you and your teachings and stuff with Annie's, that's going to be really fantastic. When do you go to film again? In April?
We go in March to Cleveland to start filming.
All right, cool. I'm not sure who's all on the air this year, but if you happen to see Jenny King, because she was there last year, I love me some Jenny King. Give her a big hug and a smooch and say that's from Marley, because she's fantastic. I definitely don't see her enough because she's all the way in Australia, but I love it when she calls me. I just get all excited and giddy. But anyways, this has truly been super exciting to get to know you. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
All right, so one last shout out. Let's tell everybody where they can follow you and Happily Hooked, so that way they're a part of your social media world.
So if you're following me in particular as a designer, my main platform is Instagram, and you can find me at coco.crochet.lee. The reason for my name is my son's name is Conan, and I call him Coco. So that's easy to remember. Coco, Crochet, and Lee. And that's where you'll find me. I love Instagram so much. It really is a great creative outlet for me. So I'd love to see you there. For Happily Hooked Magazine, the best place to find us is at happilyhooked.com and on Facebook at Happily Hooked Magazine.
Very cool. Awesome. Lee, thank you again. And I'm going to say thank you to all of you who tuned in today, both live and those of you who are catching the show later on. Don't forget that you can leave your comment on the show notes at marleybird.com. We select a winner about, gosh, I used to say 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to say 4 to 6 weeks now because my travel schedule is crazy. Just leave your comment. Let us know you enjoyed the show and just cover your bets. And you never know, you might randomly get selected to be a winner. Let's say thank you to Lee. Say thank you to Happily Hooked Magazine for supplying the wonderful gifts today. And let's say thank you to our lovely sponsors, Stitches.events. Once again, I'll be at Stitches West, which is in Santa Clara, California. It starts February 22nd. I'll be there with Chic Sheep, my mom, and I'm teaching classes too, so come and be a part of that. I want to say thank you to Buffalo Wool Company, Erin Lane Bags, and you can only get the exclusive Marley Bird and Marley's Minion Erin Lane bags at Stitches West. Let's say thank you to Creative Bug, where, I know this is funny, I'm sorry, this was not planned. Creative Bug, I will be on their Facebook Live on February 20th, so make sure you tune in to Creative Bug on February 20th. I'll be there on the Facebook Live with that. Craftsy.com, and then last but not least, Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson. You can check out everything that is Red Heart Yarns at redheartyarn.com, and make sure that you tune in to all of the videos I do right here on YouTube for Red Heart. Make sure you hit subscribe, smash that like button, you guys, and I will see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Bye, Lee.
Bye.